trader's ship landed in the middle of the slave auction pit. Dust rose around the large steel ramps as alien guards in gold and red armor barked orders. Dozens of buyers from different worlds gathered to see the new arrivals. Among them was a tall, blue-skinned warrior girl. Her long, dark hair was braided tight. Her golden eyes scanned the cages, but she said nothing. Her armor was simple but strong, marked with the warrior clan's seal. She was not here to buy. She was here to find someone. Inside one of the cages, a human man sat in silence. His muscles were bruised and blood dried along his arms. Chains were wrapped around his wrists and ankles. He had been captured near the war zone's edge 3 nights ago. He did not scream. He did not speak. He had not said a word since they dragged him onto the ship. The aliens called him savage. They laughed at his silence and beat him for sport. Still, he never reacted. His eyes just watched, always watching. "This one?" the trader asked loudly, pointing to the cage. "This worthless savage? He doesn't eat, doesn't beg. Might be broken in the head. Not worth much, but he's strong if someone can control him." The crowd chuckled. Some looked away. A few aliens whispered, "Human? From Earth? I thought they were extinct." The blue-skinned girl walked forward. Her boots clicked sharply on the metal floor. She stopped in front of the cage. Her sharp golden eyes locked with his. The human did not move, but something passed between them in that quiet moment. The guards leaned forward, ready in case she attacked. "He's just a beast," the trader said, smiling. "No thoughts, no culture, no name. Nothing to offer except a body built for work or war." She tilted her head. "Then why are you afraid to open the cage?" The trader's smile faded. One of the guards reached for the controls, but she raised her hand. "Don't bother," she said softly. And then, without warning, her fist crashed through the cage door. Steel bent. Glass shattered. Screws and locks flew like sparks in every direction. The impact shook the room. The force of her punch was so powerful that the metal bars tore loose. The crowd gasped. Some stumbled back. One alien screamed, thinking she meant to kill the man, but the human didn't flinch. His eyes never left hers. She reached through the wreckage and took hold of the chain around his wrist. Her voice was calm but loud enough for all to hear. "This savage," she said, "is not for sale. You can't do that." The trader shouted, backing away. "That's my property." The blue warrior stepped into the cage fully. She placed her hand on the human's shoulder. "He was never yours. He's a savage." The trader screamed. "A beast." She smiled. "That savage is my future husband." The guards didn't know whether to fight or flee. The other buyers were frozen in place. The human blinked slowly. For the first time in days, his lips moved. He whispered something in a low voice. She leaned closer. "What did you say?" she asked. He looked into her eyes and said it again. "Thank you." The cage was broken. The silence was broken. The war, some would say, had just begun. Guards raised their shock staves. They didn't dare move closer, but their hands were shaking as they circled the broken cage. Sparks still danced in the air. The steel frame groaned under its damage. The blue-skinned warrior girl didn't move. Her hand was still resting on the human's shoulder, calm and steady. "Step away from him," a senior guard barked. She turned her head slowly. Her golden eyes narrowed. "You want to die here today?" she asked without emotion. The guard's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Something about her presence made it hard to breathe. She wasn't loud, but she didn't need to be. She had shattered a steel cage with a single strike. That was enough. The human man stood now, still chained but standing tall beside her. His back was straight, his chest bare and covered in scars, old ones and fresh ones. He looked like he had survived more than any of them could understand. The trader stepped forward, trying to save his pride. "This is a violation of neutral trade law." She broke protocol. She attacked. "I claimed him." The warrior interrupted. "You brought a human to this pit. That makes it war." The trader laughed nervously. "Claimed him? What are you, some savage yourself?" She reached behind her back and pulled out a small carved token. It glowed faintly. The mark of an ancient bloodline, royalty from one of the warrior castes. "My clan's law is older than your trade licenses," she said. "And by that law I have chosen a mate." The crowd gasped again. Alien nobles whispered among themselves. Warriors from distant clans stepped back, unsure if they were witnessing love or a declaration of battle. The human didn't speak. He just watched everything unfold. He didn't seem confused. He didn't look scared. If anything, his eyes looked more awake now, like a fog was lifting. "Can you walk?" she asked, turning to him. He nodded once. She ripped the chain from the cage wall with one jerk, then another. Soon the metal links fell to the floor like useless string. He was free. And for the first time in a long time, he breathed deeply. More guards arrived, but none attacked. Their leader arrived last, a six-armed alien with silver skin and a long command cloak. He raised one hand, signaling silence. "Name yourself, warrior," he said calmly to the girl. She stood taller. "I am Valari of the Night Edge," she said. "Third daughter of High Marshal Tazkar. Bloodbound to the Echo Stars, I have invoked Right 17Ka, the mate claim of fire." The commander's eyes widened. He knew the right. It was old, older than most laws here. Forbidden in many systems, but not technically illegal. "You would invoke it? For a human?" he asked, puzzled. Valari glanced at the man beside her. His face was rough, his beard uneven. But his eyes were steady. His silence was not weakness, it was patience, controlled, powerful. "Yes," she said. "He is no ordinary human. He survived where others died. He fought back even when chained. He deserves honor, not mockery." The commander was silent for a moment. Then he turned to the traitor. "Your contract is void. You should not have brought a Death Worlder here." "He's dangerous," the traitor shouted. "You don't know what humans are." The commander looked at the shattered cage, then at the girl who had broken it. "I think we're starting to remember," he said. Valari turned back to the man. "Come with me. You don't have to stay in cages anymore." He looked at her, then slowly stepped forward. Not as a prisoner, not as a slave, but as something else, something the galaxy hadn't seen in a very long time. The sky outside the trade pit was thick with gray smoke and patrol drones. Valari led the human through the open gates as whispers followed behind them. No one tried to stop them now. The right she invoked was old and sacred. To challenge it meant death, and no one wanted to test her strength after what she had done to the cage. They walked in silence for a long time. The human's steps were slow at first, but steady. His legs still ached from the chains. His back was sore from beatings, but he never asked for help. And Valari never offered. She didn't treat him like a weakling. She walked beside him as if he was her equal. At the edge of the cliff near the landing zone, her scout ship waited. It was small but fast, marked with the blue and gold crest of her clan. Two of her guards stood nearby. When they saw her approach with the human, their eyes widened, but they didn't speak. One of them bowed slightly and opened the ramp. Inside the ship, she motioned for him to sit on the medbed. He hesitated, then sat without complaint. "You need treatment," she said, opening a crate of supplies. "I've had worse," he muttered. She turned. It was the first full sentence he'd spoken since they left the trade pit. "You speak now?" she said softly. He looked at her with calm, sharp eyes. "I speak when I want to be heard." She raised an eyebrow. "What's your name?" He didn't answer right away. Then finally, Cade. Valari nodded. "You were captured during the border raids?" Cade nodded once. "Ship crashed. They found me 2 days later. I took 3 of them with me before they dragged me down." "You fought while chained?" "No," he said simply. "Before that." She stepped closer and began cleaning a cut on his shoulder. He didn't flinch, but his hand twitched slightly. "You're not like the others," she said. "Neither are you." Her hands paused. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Every word felt chosen. "Why did you claim me?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she placed the bandage on the wound and met his gaze. "Because they called you a savage," she said. "Because they locked you in a cage and expected you to break. But you didn't. That's not love," he said plainly. "No," she replied. "But it's respect. And that's a start." The ship's engines powered on as the guards took their positions. Valari sat across from Cade as the ramp closed behind them. Outside, the pit grew smaller and smaller as they rose into the sky. Cade leaned back, finally resting. He watched her quietly. "You didn't have to do it," he said. "You could have left me there." "I didn't want to," she answered. He nodded slowly, then closed his eyes for a moment. "I'm not your husband," he said. "Not yet," she replied. "But I don't make empty promises." He opened one eye and stared at her for a long time, then gave a single quiet laugh. "You're strange," he said. "So are you." The ship moved faster now, breaking into the upper atmosphere. Valari sent a message to her clan, one short code, no words. It meant, "returning with fire." Far below, the traitor stood at the edge of the ruined cage, screaming curses into the wind. Back in the stars, a new path was being carved by two souls who were never meant to meet. The warship Ravager of Dawn hovered above the cloud line like a sleeping beast. Long and wide, its hull was painted with symbols of victories past. Thousands of warriors served aboard it, each trained from childhood to fight without fear. No outsiders were allowed past the gates, especially not humans. When Valari's scout ship docked, the crew stood ready in the hangar. Her return was always a moment of pride, but this time there was confusion. She exited the ship with calm steps, her armor shining, and beside her walked the human. Cade kept his eyes forward. His wounds were healing, but his mind stayed alert. Every glance from the aliens around him carried judgment. Some whispered. Some growled. A few reached for weapons until Valari's eyes stopped them. "This is Cade," she said loud enough for all to hear. "He stands under my protection." Silence. Then one warrior stepped forward. Broad-shouldered and armored in dark bronze, he stood nearly a foot taller than her. His voice was deep and cold. "You bring a human to our ship? To our clan's home?" Valari didn't blink. "I bring someone who survived what others could not. He is weak." "Test him then," she said calmly. The warrior's eyes narrowed. "A duel?" Cade stepped forward, surprising them all. "I'm not your pet," he said. "If someone wants to fight, let's fight." A ripple went through the crowd. Valari turned to him. "You don't have to do this." "I do," he said. "If I'm going to stay here, I won't hide behind you." That answer earned quiet respect from some of the younger warriors. Still, the challenger nodded and pointed to the circle drawn into the floor of the training hall. "Then step in. Prove you're more than a cage animal." Cade entered the ring. The crowd gathered fast. No weapons, no armor. Just fists, feet, and instinct. The alien warrior attacked first. Fast, heavy strikes meant to break bone. But Cade moved like water. He dodged the first blow, then the second. He took a hit to the ribs, but used it to close the distance. His elbow slammed into the warrior's chin, then his knee drove into the stomach. The bigger alien roared and charged again. They clashed like beasts. Valari watched without expression, but inside her heart pounded. Cade didn't fight like someone trained in the clan's ways. He fought like someone who learned by surviving. Every move was brutal, direct, unforgiving. And then it ended. With one final twist, Cade used the alien's own momentum, grabbing his arm and slamming him to the ground. The warrior coughed hard, wind knocked from his lungs. Cade stepped back. "Enough?" The fallen fighter nodded, struggling to breathe. The crowd didn't cheer. They just stared. Valari walked into the ring and stood beside him again. "Now you've seen it," she said. "He belongs here. Not because I claimed him. Because he earned it." Still silence. Then an older warrior in the back nodded once. "Let the savage stay." And just like that, the tension broke. Valari walked Cade through the halls of the ship. Her expression was calm, but her steps were slower. "You could have died," she said, "but I didn't," he replied. "You said I deserved honor. So I had to prove it." She glanced at him. "You're starting to understand our ways. I don't want to be anyone's symbol," he said. "I just want to stand on my own." Valari paused at the doorway to the guest quarters. "Then stand with me," she said quietly. "Not behind. Not ahead, beside." Cade looked at her for a long moment. "All right," he said. The next morning, the training halls echoed with the sound of fists hitting stone and metal. Sweat covered the bodies of young warriors as they moved in lines, practicing forms passed down for generations. Valari stood at the edge of the circle, watching. Beside her, Cade stood shirtless, arms folded, eyes focused. His wounds were healing faster than expected. His mind was sharp, and he had already memorized the structure of their fighting drills. "You don't have to train," one of the instructors said, unsure how to treat a human. "I want to," Cade replied. "If I'm staying here, I should earn my place like the others." The instructor nodded and pointed toward the formation. "Join the line. Follow their rhythm." Cade stepped in. The other warriors watched him closely, some sneering, others curious. They expected him to fail, but he didn't. He was slower at first. His steps didn't match theirs. But he adapted. With each strike, he improved. With each block, he understood more. And soon he wasn't following their rhythm. He was building his own. Valari saw it. Later that day, as the warriors trained in weapons, a scout ship landed on the far pad. The doors opened fast. An officer ran out, bowing quickly before Valari. "Commander," she said breathlessly. We found a wreck near the Serpent Pass. It bears human design. Valari's eyes narrowed. Survivors? Unknown. But it's recent. 3 days old. The wreck is hidden under rockfall. Shield burns plasma damage. Not local pirates. Military marks. Valari glanced at Cade, who had overheard. It could be my ship, he said. Or someone else from Earth, she added. He stepped closer. Let me come with you. You're not a scout, the officer warned. I'm human, he replied. If anyone survived, they might not trust aliens. Valari agreed. Suit up. We leave in 10 minutes. Soon the scout ship cut through the clouds, flying low over the rocky mountain range of Serpent Pass. Wind howled through the canyons below. Valari stood at the front of the ship, her armor secured. Cade sat nearby, dressed in borrowed gear, though it didn't quite fit. He checked the charge on a pulse blade, feeling the weight of it in his hands. Ever used one of these? She asked. He nodded. A few times. The ship slowed as they approached the signal. Beneath the jagged cliffs, they saw the broken remains of a human transport. Burned on one side, the hull was crushed under fallen stone. Smoke rose in thin streams. The wreck looked dead. Valari led the team out. Cade moved quickly, climbing the rocks. As he approached the broken cockpit, something moved. A faint sound, metal scraping. He paused. There's someone inside. Valari raised a hand. Her team fanned out, scanning the area. Cade stepped closer. He knelt by the shattered side door and pulled it open. Inside, a figure in a dark gray flight suit lay pinned. Blood marked the walls. The figure stirred. It was a woman. Her face pale, her breathing shallow. Cade? She whispered. He froze. Lena! Valari stepped beside him, confused. You know her? She was on my ship, Cade said. Pilot, we thought she died in the crash. Lena grabbed his arm. They're coming. Not pirates, not raiders. Real soldiers. They're tracking survivors. Valari's face turned serious. We need to leave now. From the cliffs above, a shadow moved. Shots rang out. Blaster fire lit up the sky like lightning. Rocks shattered beside them. Cade dove over Lena's body, shielding her as Valari pulled up her rifle and returned fire. Her shots were fast and sharp, hitting the ridge where the attackers hid. More shadows moved above, at least 7, maybe more. Not wild raiders. These attackers moved with discipline. Cade, carry her. Valari shouted. We're falling back. Cade didn't hesitate. He lifted Lena gently, bracing her weight with one arm while his other hand gripped the pulse blade. Her breathing was weak, but she was still conscious. The scout team formed a half circle as they backed toward the drop shuttle. One alien warrior was hit in the leg and dragged away by a teammate. Another took a blast to the shoulder but kept firing. The attackers were closing in fast. They're trying to pin us here, Valari muttered. Why? Cade asked. Why would soldiers come for a wrecked transport? Lena coughed. Because there's something on the ship. Something they want. What is it? Valari asked. Lena looked at her with fading eyes. A message. For Earth. A warning. The blast door of the shuttle opened and the team rushed inside. Cade placed Lena on a medbed, and one of the crew injected her with stabilizers. Valari stayed by the door, firing until the last second before she jumped in and slammed the button to close it. Get us in the air, she ordered. The pilot launched them straight up, engines roaring as red bolts flew past the hull. A few shots scraped the shields, but they cleared the ridge just in time. Inside the ship, the silence returned. Lena lay still, her eyes closed but breathing easier. Cade sat beside her, jaw clenched. She was dead, he whispered. We all thought she was gone. Valari sat across from him. Her armor was burned in spots, her shoulder bleeding. She didn't care. Her eyes were fixed on him. What's this warning she spoke of? She asked. What kind of message could bring soldiers this far into outlaw space? Cade looked down. We intercepted a signal. Before the crash. It wasn't meant for humans. It was alien. Something old. Go on, she said quietly. The signal said Earth wasn't destroyed like they claimed. It said humans still exist, still fight, still win. Valari's eyes widened. That message was proof that humans aren't extinct? She asked. Cade nodded. They tried to erase us from history. But that signal, it said the war wasn't over. That something is still coming, something worse. Valari stood and paced slowly. If the wrong people find that message, they'll kill everyone connected to it. Including you. Including her. Maybe they already started. She stopped. They know you're alive. And now they've seen you with me. They'll come for both of us. Cade looked at her. You could send me away. She shook her head. I didn't break your cage just to throw you into another one. One of her warriors approached. Commander, should we inform the High Marshal? Valari paused. No, not yet. We don't know who we can trust. Cade tightened his grip on Lena's hand. If she dies, we lose the only person who heard the full message. She won't die, Valari said. Not on my ship. As the scout ship docked with the Ravager of Dawn, alarms rang across the upper decks. A report came in. An unidentified ship was following their trail. Fast, silent, no identification marks. No broadcast signal. Valari and Cade exchanged a glance. They're already here, he said. The Ravager of Dawn shook with impact tremors. Emergency lights flashed red across the hangar and upper halls. Doors sealed. Warriors scrambled into battle formations. Valari stood on the command deck, helmet under her arm, eyes fixed on the screen where a dark ship approached silently. It was long, flat, without lights, like a shadow moving through space. No markings, her officer reported. No signals. It's not answering our hails and borders, Valari asked. They launched pods 5 minutes ago. We lost track of one in the lower decks. She turned. Send 2 teams to intercept. SEAL engineering. No one gets to the core. Below deck, Cade stood by Lena's recovery bed in the med bay. She was still unconscious but stable. Her chest rose with slow, even breaths. He could hear the sound of boots running outside, the ship's alarms blaring. A medic handed him a plasma rifle. We're under attack. Commander says no one stays unarmed. Cade nodded. I'm not leaving her, the medic paused. You don't have to. But if they're after the message, they'll come here. I know. He moved to the door and locked it. Then he pulled a rolling bed and tilted it sideways to form a makeshift barricade. More med staff hid behind the counters. One nurse gripped a stun pistol with shaking hands. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Then silence. Cade raised the rifle, heart steady. He had faced death before, but not like this. The door exploded. A black armored figure stepped through the smoke. Its face was hidden behind a mask. Its armor was different from any Cade had seen before. Smooth, dark, with no visible symbols. It moved like a ghost, fast, precise. Cade fired. 3 bursts. The figure dodged 2 and took the third in the shoulder. Sparks flew, but it didn't stop. It lunged at him with a shock blade, slashing across Cade's rifle. The weapon flew from his hands. They clashed hand to hand. Cade fought hard, using every move he had learned in the pits and training halls. He blocked a blade strike, twisted under the enemy's arm, and slammed his elbow into the mask. The figure stumbled, but only for a second. Another blade came up, this one aiming for his throat. But it stopped short. A bolt of energy slammed into the enemy's chest. It flew backward into the wall and collapsed in sparks. Valari stood in the doorway, smoke rising from her rifle. I told you to stay out of trouble, she said. Cade panted, then smiled. You're late. She stepped in and helped him to his feet. Then she looked at the enemy. What is this armor? She whispered. It's not ours. It's not pirate. It's too clean. Cade kneeled beside the figure and tore the mask off. Underneath was a pale alien face. Expressionless, eyes cyber-enhanced. Not born for war. Built for it, Valari stepped back. Artificial soldiers. They were made to wipe things clean, Cade said. No questions. No records. He turned to Lena, still resting. They're not here to silence a crash. They're here to erase proof. Valari touched her comm. Bridge, how many boarders left? We found 2 more. All eliminated. Ship is secure. For now. Valari locked eyes with Cade. They weren't just after her. They were testing us. They'll be back. Then we make sure next time we're not caught off guard. She stepped closer. Cade, if you want to leave, if you want to run, I won't stop you. I'm not running, he said. Why? Because I found something worth fighting for. Lena woke up with a gasp. Her eyes darted around the med bay, wide with fear. Cade was by her side in seconds. You're safe, he said gently. You're on an allied warship. They can't reach you here. Her breathing slowed. She looked at him, then spotted Valari standing behind him. There was confusion in her eyes, but she didn't ask questions. Not yet. Where's the recorder chip? Lena whispered. Cade leaned in. You still have it? She slowly reached under her collar and pulled out a tiny silver shard. No longer than a finger. They didn't find it. I swallowed the case before they caught me. Got it out after the crash. Valari raised an eyebrow. What's on it? Lena hesitated. A memory fragment. From the early war. A transmission not meant for alien ears. From who? Cade asked. Lena swallowed. A human commander. He sent it from a hidden base in the Izar wastes. Coordinates never listed in any official record. It was a final broadcast, warning about something buried beneath that sector. Valari crossed her arms. Something buried? Not a weapon, Lena said. Not exactly. More like a memory core. One that holds records of the true history. Cade frowned. You mean before the purge? Lena nodded. Before the galaxy agreed to erase Earth from its stories. This message proves that Earth never surrendered. That the wars never ended. That humans still resist and the ones in power are terrified of what we remember. Valari stood in silence for a long moment. Then she said, "Play it." Lena handed over the chip. In the warship's secure chamber, Valari inserted the shard into the wall port. The lights dimmed. A blue hologram flickered alive. A man's face appeared, scarred, older, with gray eyes like stone. His voice was rough but full of command. "If you're hearing this," he said, "and then they failed to stop you, that means you're one of us or someone with honor." He paused, then continued. "We found it. The vault. The place they buried the truth. They called it the Silence Protocol. A lie dressed as peace. They didn't just erase humans, they rewrote entire timelines. We were made into myths, monsters, or worse, forgotten." The message glitched, then returned. "There's still a way to break their control. The memory core beneath the Izar wastes holds copies of every redacted battle, every buried name, every betrayal. If it's recovered, it will burn through their lies like fire through dry grass." The hologram leaned in closer. "But be warned. If you go there, they'll come for you. Not with flags, with shadows. They don't want justice. They want silence." The recording ended. Valari stared at the empty air. Cade broke the silence. "That place, it still exists?" Lena nodded. "I was trying to reach it before they shot us down." Valari turned to her command console. "Set a course for the Izar wastes." One of her officers spoke up. "Commander, that's a restricted zone. Patrols vanish there. Maps change every cycle," Valari said without hesitation. "Then we bring fire into the dark." She looked at Cade. "You don't have to come." He gave a small smile. "I was born in the silence. If we can break it, I'll be there." Valari placed her hand over his. "Then we do this together." The Ravager of Dawn drifted slowly into the edge of the Izar wastes. The stars here looked dimmer. Space itself felt thicker, like fog was wrapped around the ship. No signals worked. Maps glitched. Valari stood at the helm with Cade beside her, Lena watching from the med bay through a screen. The crew had grown quiet. Even the warriors who never feared death now watched the darkness with uneasy eyes. "What is this place?" Cade asked. Valari's voice was low. "A graveyard. Not of bones, of memory." Suddenly alarms flared. A massive object appeared in front of them. Round, covered in black plating, shaped like a sphere. The ship's scanners couldn't read it. It floated silently, blocking their path. "That's not natural," said one officer. "It's not alive either," Valari added. "It's waiting." Before anyone could speak again, a beam of light shone from the sphere and scanned the ship. Everyone froze. Then a robotic voice echoed through the chamber. "Identity unknown. Bloodline found. Access granted to code. Firebound. Proceed." The sphere turned slowly and drifted aside, revealing a narrow passage of shifting light. "Firebound?" Cade asked. Valari didn't answer for a moment. Then she whispered, "That was my mother's code name during the last human war." "You were raised by a warrior who fought with humans?" She never spoke of it. Said the truth was too dangerous. Maybe this is why. The Ravager passed through the light tunnel. On the other side was a world no one expected. An ancient satellite station overgrown with space dust, metal vines, and dead signal towers. It hovered above a shattered moon. "This was a vault," Lena said. "A data tomb built by humans before they were hunted." The ship docked gently. Cade, Valari, and a small team stepped into the dark halls of the vault. As soon as their boots hit the floor, old lights flickered to life. The walls glowed with strange symbols, some human, some alien, some both mixed together. The silence was deep but not empty. Something remembered. A hologram of the same scarred commander from Lena's chip appeared before them. "Welcome." You have found the place they never wanted remembered. The floor opened slowly, revealing a long spiral descent into the memory core. Valari and Cade walked down first, weapons ready. No one spoke. Even the air felt sacred. At the bottom, a great crystal pulsed. It was cracked but alive, glowing with thousands of tiny lights, each one a name, a memory, a moment lost to time. Lena stepped forward and held out the chip. This belongs here. She placed the chip into the crystal's heart. It lit up, brighter than ever. Suddenly, visions flashed. Battles that were erased, soldiers never honored, truths hidden by galactic leaders. Valari saw her mother fighting beside a human squad, protecting them with her own body. Cade saw cities on Earth still standing, still resisting, still surviving. Then a voice filled the room. Do you wish to release this truth to the galaxy? Everyone froze. Valari looked at Cade. If we do this, every empire, every leader, every lie, they'll fall apart. Cade nodded. But people will finally know, the voice repeated. Do you wish to release this truth to the galaxy? Valari stepped forward. I do. But just before she could touch the core, the ceiling exploded. From above, black-armored figures descended, twice as many as before. Weapons ready, eyes glowing red. The enemy had followed them through the wastes. Cade pulled his blade. Valari drew her rifle. Behind them, the truth pulsed like a beating heart, waiting to be set free or destroyed. The black-armored soldiers landed hard on the vault floor, weapons raised. Their faces were hidden, movements cold and mechanical. They didn't speak. They came only to erase. Valari didn't wait. Her rifle fired first. A bolt hit the lead soldier square in the chest, knocking him backward. Cade followed, rushing forward with the pulse blade in hand. The vault's floor shook under the blast of energy as both sides clashed. The memory crystal pulsed behind them, throwing off sparks. Lena took cover, protecting the data core with her body. She opened a comm to the ship. We need backup now! But no signal could pass through the vault walls. They were on their own. Cade spun low, ducking under a shock blade and driving his own into the enemy's side. Sparks flew and the soldier fell. Valari rolled behind a console, picked off another and yelled, Cade, we can't hold them forever. They want the crystal. He shouted back. We destroy it, they win. We release it, they'll hunt us across the galaxy. Valari ducked, thinking fast. No, she said. We don't run. We don't destroy. We fight to finish it. She tapped her wrist device and spoke directly into the crystal's interface. Activate release protocol. Firebound override. Broadcast to every system that still has light. Confirming. Confirmed. The crystal shook. Lights poured from its surface, growing brighter, forming into beams that shot up through the ceiling. The information burst into the stars, escaping the wastes, spreading like wildfire across every satellite ship and comm tower. The truth had been set free. The enemy soldiers screamed in static and rage. Some tried to shoot the crystal, but Cade stood in their way. One charged him, too fast to dodge. The blade came toward his chest. But then Valari was there. She stepped in front of him, catching the blade on her armor. It burned through the edge, cutting into her shoulder. She didn't fall. She roared and knocked the soldier to the ground with one final shot. Cade caught her before she dropped. You're bleeding, he said. She smiled weakly. You should see the other guy. He laughed and held her close as the vault ceiling cracked with the force of energy. The remaining enemies began to fall back. Their mission failed. Without silence, they were nothing above. On the Ravager of Dawn, the crew stared as every screen lit up with messages. Images of humans fighting beside alien allies. Stories of betrayals, secret wars, erased victories, forbidden memories, all of it pouring out in waves, one by one. People across the stars saw it. In the vault, the memory crystal dimmed. Its task was done. Lena sat down exhausted. We changed everything. Valari leaned into Cade's arms. You did, he shook his head. No, you did. You shattered my cage. You believed in me before I believed in myself. She looked into his eyes. And now? I'm still a savage, he said with a small grin. But now, I'm yours. She kissed him gently, blood on both their hands, but light in their hearts. Behind them, the shattered pieces of the old world crumbled. Above them, a new story was already being written, and this time no one would forget.